Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Reread. I'm Rhiannon and I want to talk to you about my reading history. This has been going around BookTube and I think it's a really good discussion point to talk about your reading history, and it delves into what kind of reader you were when you were a child and in school, and it's just a fun way to remember what you did read. So let me start off. When I was very little, my parents always used to say that I used to read magazines on the potty and just babbled while turning the pages. I can't really remember doing that. My earliest memory of probably reading a book was reading a picture book, and I used to go Wimborne Library and read Mog, The Tiger Who Came to Tea, Harry McClary from Donaldson's Dairy, Titch, all those books. That was my vivid memory of picture books, was reading Mog the Cat, or looking for Where's Wally, and everything else. I used to go to my grandparents' house as well and used to read the Jolly Postman and the Jolly Postman at Christmas, and reading the verse books by Janet and Alan Alberg, which were really, really funny. And also I remember them having a massive great big book of Baa-Baa. I love Baa-Baa as well, and Horton Hears a Who. As I grew up and got to school and primary school, I also read Dr. Seuss books like The Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham, and those books. They were funny. I loved Dr. Seuss books. I loved the illustrations in the Dr. Seuss books. And it was just for me, reading was just a great escapism. Primary school, I loved reading at primary school. If it wasn't for primary school, I wouldn't have read The Butterfly Line or being read The Butterfly Line. I loved school where you had the story time and the teacher would read you a book, would read you a book when you were sitting down. I loved that. I loved reading. At primary school, my most vivid memory of getting me into reading was the Magic Key books with Biff, Kipper, Chip and Floppy, because they were in stages. Stage 1 was for early readers, Stage 2 was for middle readers, and then you had the advanced readers. And the books just got longer. The books went from just pictures to making up the story to words and to longer books. And I loved those books. I used to get so excited when the teacher said you can go choose another one. You got to that stage. I loved those stage readings, and also reading at home as well. It encouraged me to read a lot because I used to fill out a logbook as well, and also at school you used to sit down and read to the TA or a parent helper, and that encouraged you to read a little bit more through school. My reading really excelled when I went to the library one day and I got out Matilda, and I think that is an early memory of me sitting down and reading Matilda for the first time. And because obviously I did read Roald Dahl. I read The Twits, Fantastic Mr. Fox, George's Marvellous Medicine, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I've recently reread and I loved, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Roald Dahl really helped me with my reading experience, and also reading Jacqueline Wilson books like Tracy Beaker, The Lottie Project. That helped me discover things like divorce and subjects like death and adoption and living in a care home with Tracy Beaker, obviously living in a care home. And because my parents were still together, I relied on my books to give me topics like divorce and death and how to deal with that, as a child. And that made me like emphasize with my friends who are going through the same thing, through divorce or experienced a death and stuff like that. My reading helped me try to emphasize with them. It's like, oh, that character's going through that and my friend is going through that. I kind of understand because the character is going through the same thing. And Jacqueline Wilson has a great way of writing really tough subjects for children. I loved her books. Also, I have a really great picture somewhere of me at Christmas being the proud owner of The Worst Witch books. The Worst Witch was probably one of my first books that talked about magic, that was set in a magical school. This was way before Harry Potter, to be honest. It was about a school for witches, and it was about Mildred, who was clumsy, and I could relate to that because I have dyspraxia and I could be a bit clumsy, and she was a bit awkward, and she had this great set of friends and had to, her adventures were amazing, and I have this picture of me holding up The Worst Witch book, and it was awesome. I loved reading at primary school. Michael Morpurgo, I was introduced to Michael Morpurgo through The Butterfly Line and Why the Wells came at primary school. And then Harry Potter came along, I suppose, with my reading journey. It was Harry Potter. I remember one of my teachers at primary school, before we went home, we would sit on our desks before the bell went, and she read us a chapter of The Chamber of Secrets each afternoon, and I just wanted more and more. And I didn't realise it was a series, and I didn't realise The Philosopher's Stone came before that. And my parents got me the first 3 books in the series, and I just devoured them. And then from then on, I brought from Goblet of Fire onwards, I brought them by myself, or I got gifted them. And and Harry Potter gave me a set of firsts. It gave me a good story for the starter to sink my teeth. I couldn't wait to find out what Harry Potter was, and I didn't like waiting for the next book to be published. But no, I had a lot of firsts of Harry Potter. It was the first series I actually pre-ordered from Waterstones. I think it's from Order of the Phoenix to the Deathly Hallows. I pre-ordered them because I wanted to get it first, and I remember really vividly that me and my friend Sarah, when Deathly Hallows came out when we were still in secondary school, I remember getting the book, and then we would just text each other, and that was my first buddy read as well with one of my friends. I got so excited that she was like, "Where are you? I'm on chapter blah blah blah, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to spoil it." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm on this chapter," and it was like we would be texting each other, and at school we'd be going, "Oh my god, did you read that bit?" And it was like that sort of thing. Me and my friends, all we would do is discuss Harry Potter and things like that. I wasn't as obsessed. One of my friends, Becky, and she doesn't mind, she probably wouldn't mind me saying, I think her parents banned her from reading a Harry Potter book because it was just taking over her life. That was the Harry Potter obsession with me and my friends, and obviously the films came out. And if it wasn't for that teacher reading The Chamber of Secrets, I would never have gotten into Harry Potter at all, and that wouldn't have made me want to read books like Twilight or any other magic books like Eragon or anything else. And the school libraries helped. School libraries are brilliant. I read a lot of books. Also, having 2 brothers recommending me books as well from their personal collection, like the Goosebumps books, they scared me a lot. My younger brother was the Goosebump generation, basically, where they just talked about where they just read Goosebumps and everybody was gifted Goosebumps books. But no, I think. And then when I got to secondary school, my love of classics. I've always been a fan of the classics anyway. But when I got into secondary school, when I was on my 16th birthday, my parents gave me this full set of Jane Austen, and that's when my love of classics started. It started off from Pride and Prejudice, and it's still going strong today. I love Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Sense and Sensibility, Oliver Twist, Great Expectations, you got Jane Eyre, and then Tess of the D'Urbervilles. I love all my classics, and I want to read more classics while I progress. They're really good to learn about all that era. And I'll always go back to Pride and Prejudice because that's where it first started, watching the BBC adaptation and then, reading the book. And I loved that, and I can understand the language and everything else. And I got gifted my Jane Austen books, and it's got to Rhiannon, love from mum and dad. And I love that. It's my 16th, and that's what I wanted. And yes. And secondary school helped me with the love of classics. Yes, we overanalyze them. It was horrible. I was in the second to last set at school, so we were in sets, so set 1, set 2, set blah blah blah, and I was in the second to last set in English for GCSE, and we read some absolutely great books. So in year 9 we did Hound of the Baskervilles for SATs. I loved that. My love of Sherlock Holmes came through, at secondary school, and then we did Romeo and Juliet, so my love of Shakespeare came through, and then we did Great Expectations, and last but not least, my favourite book we did at school was Of Mice and Men. I love that book. I've got a copy of that book on my shelf, and I enjoy reading that book. So school helped me with my love of classics, and then throughout my reading history, I have friends recommending me books. My friend Becky in secondary school introduced me to the Alex Rider series by Anthony Horowitz, and I love reading about spies, which is unusual for girls to want to read about spies and things like that. And I love the fact there are loads of girls on BookTube that are reading like spy books, or the Sherlock Holmes books, crime novels, and I like that thing because books shouldn't be, oh, boys should read spy novels, girls should read romance novels. I like it that we can all pick and choose what we read, and I loved Alex Rider. I loved the gadgets, and I loved it, and it got me into James Bond as well, slowly and surely. And then from finding out that Anthony Horowitz did more books, I got the Diamond Brothers series, and then I got the Power of Five series, which is a supernatural, and the Power of Five series is the first supernatural series that I read, and I got scared at. And then I read Darren Shan, and then all these great books I read. And then also my friend Sarah introduced me to the Noughts and Crosses series, and I read that, and my mind was blown, because the Noughts and Crosses series is quite a dark book. It deals with a lot of dark themes, and that was the first dark theme book that I read. It blew my brain, and I really need to reread it, but it's just so dark. The first book in the series, Noughts and Crosses, sickened me to the stomach. That was the first book that ever did me, that made me like really ill because of the subject. And if people have read Noughts and Crosses, they'll know what I'm talking about. And I enjoyed reading it, and then I got the series, and I enjoyed reading the series as well. And yeah, so many great books. Middle school, when I was in middle school before secondary school, obviously from year 5 to 8, secondary school provided me with a lot of books. I think middle school introduced me to the non-fiction, the darker side of non-fiction, where at the time a lot of people, it was a book called A Child Called It, and that was a memoir of someone's experience of being abused as a child. And I read the first book, and I didn't like it at all. It wasn't my cup of tea at that age. I remember my friend Millie reading it, and you go, oh, you have to read this book, it's really good. So I read it, and at that age you can't comprehend what you're really reading, couldn't really understand what I was reading. It was horrible. And also my friend Sarah kind of introduced me to the Mills and Boons, and I read a Mills and Boons. I was like, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. And also at the secondary school age, I was like, yeah, I know what good literature is. Mills and Boons, romance is not one of them, although yeah. And so leaving secondary school, I think at college I was still reading. It wasn't a lot of reading. I didn't read a lot during secondary school, and then when you leave college and school and you get into the adult world of life and work, there's not really much space for reading as much as you would like, because you have all these certain things. But since starting BookTube, I have found a lot of recommendations of books, The Hunger Games being one of them, a lot of recommendations for some really fantastic books out there. And I do read. I don't read a lot, but I still find time to do that reading. And if it wasn't for being a reader, for having books recommended to me, to being introduced to the Harry Potter series, I wouldn't have a reading history to tell you guys. And look at me now. I love reading, and I love talking about books on BookTube, and it's wonderful. I want to be able to read well into my old age. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it about my reading history and about all the books that I've enjoyed. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and please do let me know in the comments below what books you read during your your school years and everything else. At school, it didn't bother me which reading group I was in. As long as I had a book and I was able to read it, then I was happy, It's like, because I grew up with a disability, with having a learning difficulty and a disability. I think it was the escapism. And also I wanted to mention one more point. If it wasn't for secondary school, I wouldn't have read the pivotal book in my life, which is The Curious Dog in the Nighttime, because I really connected with that character. I really connected with his struggle. I really connected with his Asperger's, because I've been diagnosed with Asperger's since I was 23 years old, and I didn't know at secondary school that it was Asperger's. So that book, I really can hit a nerve on that book. I love that book. And yeah, that is all, guys. That is my reading history. I hope you enjoy it. I do suggest, I should have put this at the beginning, if you want to go make a cup of tea, it's long, but that was my reading history. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know down below what your reading history was. Please feel free. If you want to make a reading history video, please feel free and do it, because this is such a great thing to keep going. I really enjoy making this video, so I will see you in my next one. Bye bye.